Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make that shawl that you saw in the picture there. So it is quite big, so I cannot show you on my desk. I can't lay it all out and show you, but I will show you what I can. Look at that gradient effect on that. Isn't that a beauty? Beautiful, beautiful. Now it's very easy. It's a 2-row repeat. You will need to know how to do puff stitches, but don't worry, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I have faith in you. Isn't that beautiful? Very pretty, very pretty. So mine measures from point to point across the top about 70 inches. And then from point here all the way down to the bottom point measures about 48 inches, okay? It's very, like I said, it's gorgeous, a gorgeous shawl. Now this is my Killer Queen shawl. Okay. So for this project, I used, this is from Hobby, Hobbii. It's based in Denmark. I purchased it online. It's a Cotton King Sultan Deluxe Shine. It is a sport weight number 2. So it is a lightweight yarn. It's a number 2 weight. And there are about 1,100 yards in this cake. I have a little bit left. I couldn't go around again, but so I used about 1,000 yards of a 2 weight for my shawl. The color I have in my hand is color number 25, and this is a 20 or a 96% cotton, 4% polyester blend. Mine does have the sparkles in it. If you choose to use this, they do have some without sparkles. Now you can use a 3 weight if you'd like. A 4 weight will work, but it will not have a drape. As the drape that this has, a gorgeous drape, a 4 weight will not have that. It'll be a much thicker shawl. Now I'm going to show you how to make this shawl on a 4 weight so you can see what it looks like, because when I use a small yarn like that, my hands shake and no one wants to see that. But for the 2 weight yarn, I used a size G, which is a 4.25 millimeter, and some G's are 4 millimeters. Either one of those will work just fine. Now if you're going to be using a 3 weight, I recommend a 5 millimeter crochet hook. And if you're going to be using a 4 weight, which is what I'm going to show you for the demonstration, so you can see what it looks like with the 4 weight yarn, also so my hands don't shake while I'm crocheting. I'm going to be using just for tutorial purposes only, Premier Basic, which is a 4 weight 100% acrylic. The color I have is called Goldenrod, and for the 4 weight I'll be using a 6 millimeter crochet hook. Remember, the 4 weight will not have the drape, which you will see in the video, but it will still be a pretty shawl. I'm only using the 4 weight to show you what a 4 weight looks like. Also, like I said, when I use a 2 weight yarn and a small hook, my hands shake when I crochet because I have arthritis and I have a hard time with it, and no one wants to see that. So let's do this. But as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please give me a like. Check out all my hundreds of tutorials. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this shawl, and what yarn you're going to use if you're going to make it. I'm really curious. I'm going to read over those comments. Give this video a share if you can. I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's do it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off with a slip knot on our hook. Remember, I'm just showing you with this yarn for the tutorial purposes only. So we're going to go ahead and start off with a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. So this is shawl works from the top, and then it grows larger each row that you do. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with a chain of 4. Now this chain 4 counts as a triple crochet here and for the rest of the pattern. We're going to go ahead and put 7 more triple crochets through the center of the ring. So the triples, and we yarn over twice, go through the ring, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, and yarn over, go through the remaining 2. So we want to do that 7. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 7. So counting that chain 4 and our 7 triples that we just did, we now have a total of 8 triple crochets. So we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to go back into the ring again, and now we're going to work 8 triples through the center of the ring. You can slide them over if need be. And there we go. There's 8. Now you can pull on your tail to close up that center circle a little bit more. Otherwise, we can sew it together later at the end. Alright, so that ends row 1. You should have a total of 16 stitches, counting that chain 4. You'll have 8 on this side of the chain 1 space and 8 on this side. We do not count the chain 1 space as a stitch. So we're going to go ahead and start row 2. Row 2, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to go right back into this very first stitch, and we're going to work a double crochet. Like that. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to go to this very first next stitch and put a double crochet into it. Just like that. Now the next stitch we are going to work a puff, and this is how we work the puff. So we're going to chain 1 after that last double crochet there. And we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. We want to do that a total of 5 times. So that was number 1. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go into the next stitch or the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 3 times. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That is 4 times. One more time, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. You should have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6. Now we're going to do a chain of 2. 1, 2. We're going to skip 1 stitch, and then we're going to puff into the next. So skip the stitch here, and then the next we're going to do another puff. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2. Remember, we want to do that 5 times. So that was number 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. One more time. That's 5. 6 loops will remain. Yarn over and go through all 6. And we're going to chain 2 again. And we're going to skip 1 stitch and puff into the next. So puff the same way we've been doing it. 6 loops, yarn over and go through all 6. Now this time we're only going to chain 1. So we chain 1 at the first double crochet here, and then we chain 1 at the last at the end of the last puff, and we only chain 2 in between the middle puffs. Now we're going to go ahead and double crochet into the last stitch here, and now we're going to work a chain of 5. And now we're going to do on this side what we just did on this side. So we're going to go ahead and double crochet into the very first stitch. That, and chain 1. Now we're going to go directly into the next stitch and do a puff. Six loops, yarn over and go through all 6. Now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to skip 1 and puff into the next. Chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next, now since we are at the end here, we have no more puffs to do. We're only going to chain 1 and then double crochet directly into the next stitch like that. And now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to double crochet into the top of our chain 4, and that will end row 2. Just like that. So this is the back side of your work. There you go. Ooh, the puffs show up a lot more when you're using a 4-weight. All right, beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and start row 3. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which counts as a triple crochet, and we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to put 7 triple crochets into this chain 3 space, triples. So just all into this space, we're going to work 7 triples. There's 1. We do not count this chain 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now there's 7. Now what we're going to do is we are going to come over here to our puff stitches, and we're going to single crochet in the middle puff stitch. So here's your middle one. So right in the top of the puff, we're going to single crochet into it like that. See that? All right, so now what we're going to do is once you get that single crochet made, we're going to come up way over here to this chain 5 space, and we're going to work 7 triple crochets all the way over here into this chain 5 space. That's actually the point of the shawl. So there's 1, we're doing triples. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go back into the same spot. You can pull them over if you want, and work 7 more triple crochets. There's 7. Now we're going to jump over here to our middle puff stitch, and we're going to put a single crochet into the top of the middle puff. That. And then we're going to come over here to this last chain 3 space, and we're going to work 7 triple crochets into that last chain 3 space. It's 1, 2, 7, and now we're going to end by working a triple crochet into the top, or into the last double crochet. So right here is a double, just put a triple crochet into the top of it, and that will end row 3. Now it's okay if it's a little bit bumpy looking, or maybe, you know, just in the end it will work out. So I really wouldn't worry about it looking a little bit misshapen at first. So now we're going to start row 4. So rows 4 and 5 are going to be the repeat rows. The only thing is they're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger each time around. So they're very similar to what we just did. So what we're going to do now for row 4, remember it starts the repeat rows, is we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to do the puff stitch row again. So we're going to go ahead and double crochet right back into that same stitch. And then we're going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to put a double crochet into the very next stitch and chain 1. And we're going to put a puff into the very next stitch. Chain 2, skip 1, and puff into the next. Chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next. This time, since we only have 1 stitch left, we're going to chain 1, double crochet right back into this very last stitch. And now what we're going to do, you can see that we are at the single crochet from the previous row. We're going to do a chain of 2. 1, 2, and that's where we're going to put a shell on our next row. So we're going to skip that single crochet, and we're going to put a double crochet into the top of this next stitch. And we're going to do our puffs again. So we're going to chain 1. In the next stitch, we're going to work a puff. Chain 2, skip 1, in the next stitch we're going to work another puff, chain 2, skip 1. In the next stitch we're going to work another puff. Now since we're at our last puff and there's 1 double crochet before the chain space, we're going to chain 1, go right back into this double crochet and double crochet into it. And now we're at the point here, so we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to do the same thing over here that we just did over here. So we're in the very first double crochet after this chain 1, we're going to double crochet into it and chain 1, and we're going to put a puff into the very next stitch. And now we're going to chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next, chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next, now we only have 1 double crochet left here, so we're going to chain 1 this time and then double crochet right back in to that double crochet here from the previous row. And now we're at the single crochet from the previous row, so we're going to do a chain of 2, and that's where our shell will go on the next row. Skip that single crochet and double crochet into the next double crochet from the previous row. We're going to do our puffs again, so we're going to chain 1, and into the very next stitch we're going to puff, chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next, chain 2, skip 1, puff into the next, now we're at the end here, so we're going to just chain 1, and we're going to put a double crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to end by chaining 3 and putting a double crochet into the top of our first chain 4, and that'll end row 4. So now let's go ahead excuse me, and start row 5, which is the final row of the repeat. So we're going to chain 4, which counts as a triple crochet, and turn our work. So that's what it starts to look like. And we are going to go ahead and put 7 triple crochets into our first chain 3 space. Remember, this does not count as one of the 7. So 7 into the space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there is 7. Now we're going to single crochet into the middle puff, the top of the middle puff stitch, And now we are at the chain 2 space that we did before. Every row will gain another chain 2 space, okay? But what we do in the chain 2 space now is we just put 7 triple crochets right through that space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now we have puff stitches again. We're going to single crochet into the top of the middle puff. And now we're at our chain 5 space. And we are going to do this at all of our chain 5 spaces except for the last one. We're going to work 7 triple crochets into it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 1, slide them over if you need to, 7 more triple crochets. Like that. Now we're going to do over here what we just did over here, which is single crochet into the top of the middle puff. And now we're going to be hitting a chain 2 space in between these sets of puffs. See it right here? We're going to work 7 triple crochets into that chain space. Here's our puffs. We're going to go ahead and put a single crochet into the top of the middle puff. And then we are coming to the end, this space right here, 7 triple crochets into this space. There's 7, and now we're going to go ahead and end by doing a triple crochet into our top of our last double crochet. And that'll end at row 5, and that ends the repeat rows. So that's what it starts to look like. So the more you do, so when you go ahead and you start row 6, which is a repeat of row 4, you're going to have another set of puff stitches on each side, which will in turn create another chain 2 space for another shell for the next row. So I hope that makes sense. Each time you're growing, another set of puff stitches on each side, and another shell on each side. So that is it. You want to repeat rows 4 and 5 until you get to your desired length. But there's something different that we do at the final row. All right, so when you get to the final row, your final row should be a shell row, and we just change up one little thing just to help it lay a little bit flatter and give it a nice curvy edge. It's very easy. As instead of working, Here's the start. We would start out with a chain of 4 like normal, and we would work 9 triple crochets into the chain spaces instead of 7. That is the only difference on the final round. So each one of these have 9, where normally we would put 7. So it makes it a bigger shell and gives it a nicer edge. See that? They all have 9 triple crochets as opposed to 7. That is the only difference. You do 9 instead of 7 on your final round. And when you get to the point here, so instead of doing 7 triple crochets, a chain 1 and 7 triple crochets, which is what we did the whole time, instead of that, we're just going to do a straight 18 triple crochets. No chain 1s, no chains or anything, just a straight 18. Gives a nice finishing shell at the bottom. And then we just continue working the 9 triple crochets into the chain spaces as opposed to the 7 triple. That's the only difference on that final round. And that is it. So remember, this is what it looks like with a 4-weight yarn. So you can use, I mean, it's going to be a thicker shawl. It's not going to have a lot of drape, but that is completely up to you. But I hope you enjoy my tutorial. I hope you're able to follow along okay. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, let me know if you are going to make the shawl and what yarn you choose to use. And if you do make it, show me a picture on Facebook or Instagram. I'd really like to see it. Hit that subscribe button, like button, please, if you can. Give me a share. I always enjoy the shares. And until next time, have a good day.